Chris Brown joins us here on a Football Friday as we gear up for Bills and Browns. Good morning, Chris. Happy Football Friday.
Indeed. Happy Football Friday. Good morning.
Did you catch that game last night?
I did.
Game of the year?
It front to back. It was, well, I'm not going to lie. It's 30-14, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to bed. I'm not staying up for the rest of this thing. Then the punt return touchdown happens. I was like, all right, hold on a second. And I stayed through to the end. So it was worth it.
Yeah, it was a crazy game, and Seattle ends up winning. They get a bunch of two-point conversions along the way. Super dramatic, really great. It's probably the opposite end of the spectrum of some historical Bills-Browns games. Like the Bills and Browns this week, the Bills are obviously in a great spot. They're big favorites, but I feel like Bills fans maybe can't help but think back to the drought years, like the 2007 to 2010 window where every one of these games was an ugly Christmas sweater or something. I mean, these two teams have played some beauties over the years.
Yeah, the 8-0 game comes to mind right away. That was just an ugly game, mostly because of the weather, but also because of the two teams trying to play in it. And then it's hard not to forget what I want to say was a Sunday night game, and it was dubbed the Battle of Lake Erie. And unfortunately, Lindell missed a kick at the end to win.
Yep.
And they lost that game at home. That was a tough one, too. So, yeah, not a lot of good memories from the drought years between these two teams.
And then there's 6-3. Don't forget 6-3 also. They had that one with the Roscoe Parrish muffed punt. Anyway, we've had some memories. This one, the Bills are big favorites, Chris, and, it's going to be about whatever. We are not on the field. I don't think the Bills are going to overlook an opponent. They don't often do that. There are some challenges that the Browns present, right? The defense is legitimate. They've got a couple of great players, maybe one of the greatest of all time in Myles Garrett going for the sack record. So I feel like Garrett's presence alone, the offense will be focused, right? You're going to make sure you keep 17 upright, keep him healthy, and just kind of get to work on a Browns defense that does present some challenges.
Yeah, they do, and you have to have two people assigned to Garrett on every single play. He is unblockable one-on-one. It really is remarkable. I was digging into some of his career numbers, and it's unfortunate that a lot of them have largely gone under the radar because of the team and organization for whom he plays. Nobody sees him on a national stage very often because his team is lousy. And he not only is I said this in another interview. He's basically secretariat this year in the sack race.
Yeah.
I mean, no one is near him. He's 8 sacks clear of the next closest guy in sacks in the league this year. And then on top of that, just digging into some of his career numbers, he's got the most consecutive seasons of at least 10 sacks in the history of the league, the most consecutive seasons of 12 sacks in the league. So, I mean, he's not just a phenomenal talent, but the consistency of his production on a bad football team is remarkable.
It's almost like the Josh Allen vibe of like he owns all these records and then this one and this one and this one too. And I saw Aaron Schatz had this. I've been using this throughout the week, that basically Garrett is not only having like a secretariat season this year, he's kind of secretariat against everybody ever rushing the passer. And the best way to say this is TJ Watt got 22.5 in 2021, which is tied for the record, and he did it on 180 more rushes than Garrett has right now. Like, imagine Garrett get 180 rushes from now, what his number will end up being, because he would have to get one more to tie Watt in a significantly lower number of attempts. So he's obviously great. Any concern for you, Deion Dawkins battling an illness this week? He's missed a couple days of practice. Like, Dawkins, he's got a healthy respect for Garrett. I feel like he even really likes Garrett. He campaigned for him to come here. Maybe it's his favorite matchup of the year because of how challenging it is, but he certainly knows what he's in for.
Yeah, and you hope he's, eating his chicken soup this week and can force fluids and get right for Sunday. Obviously, we'll learn a lot more today at practice and when the final injury designation comes out. But, yeah, he's missed the last 2 days with illness. So hopefully he's right for today and obviously the weekend. One other thing quickly about Garrett for fans to keep an eye on, he's got one of the most unique pass rush moves I've ever seen. He's adopted like the Euro step move. It's amazing. He just Euro steps between two offensive linemen or around an offensive lineman. I don't know how he makes it work, but it works. So just something to keep an eye on because, offensive linemen are taught to slide, step, slide, and he just takes these gargantuan leaps one way and then the other. And I don't know how he makes it work, but it's remarkably effective.
Yeah. It's wild. Like, you're right. The jump from one side to the other covers like 5 yards, and he's all the way on the other side of the offensive lineman he's trying to get around. So we know about the threat that Garrett presents. Chris, let's get to the Bills' defense. Maybe this won't be a week where we see them kind of pull their Jekyll and Hyde act. Maybe they'll just be good from start to finish, which is something they've done. I'm thinking about the Jet game. I'm thinking about the Panthers game, even the Steelers game, where they really had a great performance. And, the Cleveland offense, of course, run by a rookie fifth-round pick in Shedeur Sanders. Like, I feel like start to finish, I want to have expectations for this defense to have a solid day.
Right, and we've seen that against some lesser opponents, the ones that you pointed out, obviously, and those were road games. So you would hope that they could duplicate that. And I think the other thing that works in Buffalo's favor, too, and I know we've talked about this, but in December, the picture is a lot clearer to players as to what is necessary with respect to one-loss record, playoff race, conference race, etc. The Bills need as many conference wins as they can accumulate because you've got a division race that you're still not in control of. You need help there. And then the wild card race is remarkably tight, and you want to stay a game ahead of Houston because they have the head-to-head tiebreaker on you, and they're just a game back. And the Chargers have the same record as you, and they currently have the tiebreaker on you because their conference record is superior. This is an AFC opponent. You need this game.
Shedeur Sanders, there's not been a whole lot there, and he takes sacks. This pass rush, Joey Bosa has been their best pass rusher. Greg Rousseau has had his moments. It might be nice to see this pass rush finally find a way to get home against a quarterback that has, all the way back to college. Like, one of the knocks on Shedeur Sanders is he takes sacks.
Right, and I think it's because he knows one of his greatest assets as a passer is the deep ball. He's uncommonly accurate on deep throws. I think he's already got like 5 passes of over 50 yards, and what has he made, 4 starts? So he wants to make that big play because he believes it's a major asset to his game. Obviously, the downside of that is he exposes himself to more sacks, but he's established a nice rapport with his fellow rookie Isaiah Bond, who can really fly. He's been his deep threat, and he relies heavily on Harold Fannin, the tight end, who's also a rookie out of Bowling Green, who's the leading receiver on the team. So it's a remarkable draft class for the Browns. All of them are playing, and all of them are contributing, and almost every single one of them is at a skill position, including defense with Schlesinger.
One thing we should probably talk about more often, it shows up in games, and I want to get to it ahead of the game. The Bills' special teams as a weapon. It's one of the reasons the Rams lost last night, right? Like, they give up a punt return touchdown. They miss a kick. They also lost a game earlier in the year on a blocked kick. And here are the Bills. They've had a great year with Matt Prater, of course, who's battling an injury. And the whole special teams unit could be hit by injury, long snapper, punter. But the return game, Chris, like Ray Davis and this return game, the way that Chris Tabor, special teams coach Chris Tabor, is kind of weaponizing it, it is a big part of what they've been doing lately offensively.
Yeah, and I think the most encouraging thing there is what Chris Tabor and his coaching experience has brought to that phase of the game. I had talked about this in the offseason several times over after he had been hired. He's the first special teams coordinator on Sean McDermott's staff with prior NFL special teams coordinator experience since 2018. I felt that at some point that experience to scheme and make the special teams unit an asset for this team would show up. It took a little while, but here we are. And look, he had 2 more wrinkles in the game plan last week for New England. He went single returner with Ray Davis, no more Ty Johnson alongside of him. And he had Reggie Gilliam as an up man, one of the best blocking fullbacks in the league. And that second half kickoff, he had Alec Anderson in front of him, and they busted for 58 yards. So I'm very eager to see Chris Tabor have something else cooked up maybe for the Browns here this week and going forward into the playoffs. If you can make that phase of your game an asset you take a lot of pressure off your offense to drive the field 70 and 75 yards all the time.
One last thing about this game, Chris. I'm kind of noticing this might be a bit of a stretch, but it is the final road game of the year. And, practicing your road, everything about what you do on the road might be important. You'd love to chase down the division, but maybe you won't. And maybe after they play in Highmark against the Jets, they are headed out to the playoffs, to these stops along the way, Pittsburgh, maybe Denver. And the road has given this team some problems this year, whether it's play calls coming in on time a couple times in some of the nastier spots. So it really is one last chance to really button things up in road environments.
Yeah, that's a good point. And, the Bills do rely a good amount on pre-snap motion. That is harder to execute. You can't be quite as complicated on the road with all those moving parts because communication is a bigger challenge. So I'm curious to see how they handle that, going forward, not only this week, but to your point in the postseason. But this is a team that's pretty battle tested over the years. I don't think they're going to be intimidated if their playoff path is on the road, from start to finish. So we'll just see how they can finish up here. We know they're a strong December team. And after that, we'll see where the chips lie because this team's just got to put their head down and stack wins until they get to the end of the season, and then they can pick their head up.
Chris Brown on the Western Hotline. Chris, thanks. Have a great call. We'll talk Monday.
All right, take care. Have a Merry Christmas.
You too. Chris Brown's appearance on WGR brought to you by Northwest Bank. For what's next, get started at northwest.com. By Northtown Volkswagen, Western New York's #1 VW dealership. Shop online at northtownvw.com. And by Lockport Outdoor Store, high-impact gear for hardworking men and women. More of your phone calls, the Super Great American Football Friday Frenzy, a recap of last night's Sabres games through our eyes. We were all there. Joe was with us, too. He's off today, though. The fantastic four-way parlay hit. I was texting these guys at midnight. They had no idea. They're all asleep. So you woke up to my texts. The JSN had a shot to hit it, and he did. We had a good night. 803-0550. Something on Bills Browns, something on Sabres Flyers, or the path forward for the Sabres, whatever you want. Playoff race, last night's game, which was awesome. Join us here on WGR.